The Indian Struggle by Subhash Chandra Bose, Part-20. The role of Mahatma Gandhi in Indian history. The role which a man plays in history depends on partly on his physical and mental equipment and partly on the environment and the needs of times in which he is born. There is something in Mahatma Gandhi which appeals to the mass of the Indian people. Born in another country, he might have been a complete misfit. What, for instance, would he have done in a country like Russia or Germany or Italy? His doctrine of non-violence would have led him to the cross or to the mental hospital. In India, it is different. His simple life, his vegetarian diet, his goat's milk, his day of silence every week, his habit of squatting on the floor instead of sitting on a chair, his learned cloth, in fact, everything connected with him has marked him out as one of the eccentric Mahatma of old and has brought him nearer to his people. Wherever he may go, even the poorest of the poor feels that he is a product of the Indian soil, bone of his bone, flesh of his flesh. When the Mahatma speaks, he does so in a language that they comprehend, not in the language of Herbert Spencer and Edmund Burke, as for instance Sir Surendranath Banerjee would have done, but in that of the Bhagavad Gita and the Ramayana. When he talks to them about Swaraj, he does not dilate on the virtues of provincial autonomy or federation. He reminds them of the glories of Ramayana and they understand. And when he talks of conquering through love and ahimsa, they are reminded of Buddha and Mahavira and they accept him. But the conformity of the Mahatma's physical and mental equipment to the traditions and temperament of the Indian people or but one factor according for the former's success. If he had been born in another Yuga in Indian history, he might not have been able to distinguish himself so well. So, for instance, what would he have done at the time of the revolution of 1857 when the people had arms, were able to fight, and wanted a leader who could lead them in battle? The success of the Mahatma has been due to the failure of the constitutionalism on the one side and armed revolution on the other. Since the 80s of the last century, the best political brains among the Indian people were engaged in a constitutional fight in which the qualities most essential were skill in debate and eloquence in speech. In such an environment, it is unlikely that the Mahatma would have attained much eminence. With the dawn of the present century, people began to lose faith in constitutional methods. New weapons like Swadeshi and boycott appeared, and simultaneously the revolutionary movement was born. As the years rolled by, the revolutionary movement began to gain ground, and during the Great War there was an attempt at a revolution. The failure of this attempt at a time when the Britain had her hands full and the tragic events of 1919 convinced the Indian people that it was no use trying to resort to the method of physical force. The superior equipment of Britain would easily smash any such attempt, and in its wake there would come indescribable misery and humiliation. In 1920, India stood at the crossroads. Constitutionalism was dead. Armed revolution was sheer madness. But silent acquiescence was impossible. The country was groping for a new method and looking for a new leader. Then there sprang up India's man of destiny, Mahatma Gandhi, who had been biding his time all these years and quietly preparing himself for the great task ahead of him. He knew himself, he knew his country's needs, and he knew also that during the next phase of India's struggle, the crown of leadership would be on his head. No false sense of modesty troubled him. He spoke with a firm voice, and the people obeyed. The Indian National Congress of today is largely his creation. The Congress constitution in his handwork. From a talking body, he has converted the Congress into a living fighting organization. It has its ramification in every town and village in India, and the entire nation has been trained to listen to one voice. Nobility of character and capacity to suffer have been made the essential test of leadership, and the Congress is today the largest and the most representative political organization in the country. But how could he achieve so much within this short period? By his single hearted devotion, his relentless will, and his indefatigable labor. Moreover, the time was auspicious and his policy prudent. Though he appeared as a dynamic force, he was not too revolutionary for the majority of his countrymen. If he had been so, he would have frightened them instead of inspiring them, repelled them instead of drawing them. His policy was one of unification. He wanted to unite the Hindu Muslims, the high caste and the low caste, the capitalist and the liberal, the landlord and the peasant. By this humanitarian outlook and his freedom from hatred, he was able to rouse sympathy even in his enemy's camp. But Swaraj is still a distant dream. Instead of one, the people have waited for 14 long years, and they will have to wait many more. With such purity of character and with such an unprecedented following, why has the Mahatma failed to liberate India? He has failed because the strength of a leader depends not on the largeness but on the character of one's following. With a much smaller following, other leaders have been able to liberate their country, while the Mahatma, with a much larger following, has not. He has failed because while he has understood the character of his own people, he has not understood the character of his opponent. The logic of Mahatma is not the logic which appeals to John Bull. He has failed because his policy of putting all his cards on the table will not do. We have to render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And in a political fight, the art of diplomacy cannot be dispensed with. He has failed because he has not made use of international weapon. If we desire to win our freedom through non-violence, diplomacy and international propaganda is essential. He has failed because the false unity of interest that are inherently opposed is not to a source of strength but a source of weakness in political warfare. The furniture of India rests exclusively with those radical and militant forces that will be able to undergo the sacrifice and the suffering necessary for the winning freedom. Last but not the least, Mahatma has failed because he had to play a dual role in one person: the role of the leader of an enslaved people and the role of a world leader who has a new doctrine to preach. It is this duality which has made him at once the irreconcilable foe of the Englishman, according to Mr. Winston Churchill, and the best policeman of the Englishmen, according to Miss Ellen Winston. What of the future? What the role will be Mahatma play in the days to come? Will he able to emancipate his dear country? Several factors have to be considered. So far as his health and vitality are concerned, it is highly probable that he will be spared many years of active and useful public life, and his determination to achieve something tangible in the direction of his country's freedom will keep up his spirits. So far as his popularity and reputation are concerned, they will endure till the end of his life, because unlike other political leaders, the Mahatma's popularity and reputation do not depend on his political leadership but largely on his character. The question we have to consider, however, is whether the Mahatma will continue his political activities or whether he will voluntarily withdraw himself from the active politics, of which there are indications at the present moment, and devote himself exclusively to social and humanitarian work. A prediction in the case of Mahatma is a hazardous proposition. Nevertheless, one thing is certain: the Mahatma will not play second fiddle to anyone as long as it will be possible for him to guide the political movement. He will be there, but if the composition or the mentality of the Congress changes, he may possibly retire from the active politics. The retirement may be temporary or permanent. A temporary retirement is like a strategic retreat and is not of much significance, because the hero will come back into the picture once again. We have had experience of the Mahatma's recruitment from active politics once before. From 1924 to 1928, whether there is a possibility of the Mahatma's permanent retirement depends to some extent, at least, on the attitude of the British government. If he is able to achieve something tangible for his country, then his position will be unassassinable among his countrymen. Nothing succeeds like success, and the Mahatma's success will confirm public faith in his personality and in his weapon of non-violent non-cooperation. But if the British attitude continues to be as uncompromising as it is today, public faith in the Mahatma as a political leader and in the method of the non-violent non-cooperation will be considerably shaken. In that event, they will naturally turn to a mere radical leadership and policy. In spite of the unparalleled popularity and reputation which the Mahatma has among his countrymen and will continue to have regardless of his future political career, there is no doubt that the unique position of the Mahatma is due to his political leadership. The Mahatma himself distinguishes between his massive popularity and his political following, and he is never content with having merely the former. Whether he will be able to retain that political following in the years to come, in the event of the British attitude being as unbending as it is today, will depend on his ability to evolve a more radical policy. Will he able to give up the attempt to unite all the elements in the country and boldly identify himself with the more radical forces. In that case, nobody can possibly supplement him. The hero of the present phase of the Indian struggle will then be the hero of the next phase as well. But what does the balance of probability indicate? The Patna meeting of the All India Congress Committee in May 1934 affords an interesting study in his connection. The Mahatma averted the Swarajist revolt by advocating council entry himself, but the Swarajists of 1934 are not the dynamic Swarajists of 1922 to 1923. Therefore, while he was able to win them over, he could not avoid alienating the left-wingers, many of whom have now combined to form the Congress Socialist Party. This is the first time that a socialist party has been started openly within the Indian National Congress, and it is extremely probable that the economic issues will henceforth be brought to the fore. With the clarification of the economic issues, the parties will be more scientifically organized within the Congress and also among the people in general. The Congress Socialists appear at the moment to be under the influence of Fabian socialism, and some of their ideas and the subjects were the fashion several decades ago. Nevertheless, the Congress Socialists do represent a radical force within the Congress and in the country. Many of those who could have helped them actively are not available at present. When their assistance will be forthcoming, the party will be able to make more headway. At the present moment, another challenge to the Mahatma's policy has crystallized within the Congress in the Congress Nationalist Party led by Pandit Malviya. The dispute has arisen over the communal award of the Prime Minister Mr. Ramsay MacDonald. This issue is, however, a comparatively minor one because the official Congress Party and the Congress Nationalist Party are agreed in the total rejection of the white paper of which the communal award is an integral part. Only the official Congress Party is foolishly afraid of openly condemning the communal award. Since the Congress Nationalist Party does not represent a more radical force in the country, the ultimate challenge to the Mahatma's leadership cannot come from that direction. One definite prediction can be made at this stage, namely that the future parties within the Congress will be based on economic issues. It is not improbable that in the event of the left-wingers capturing the Congress machinery, there will be a further succession from the right and the setting up of a new organization of the right-wingers like the Indian Liberal Federation of today. It will of course take some years to clarify the economic issues in the public mind so that the parties may be organized on the basis of a clear program and ideology. Till the issues are clarified, Mahatma Gandhi's political supremacy will remain unchallenged, even if there is a temporary retirement as in 1924. But once the clarification takes place, his political following will be greatly affected. As has been already indicated, the Mahatma has endeavored in the past to hold together all the warring elements, landlord and peasant, capitalist and labor, rich and poor. That has been the secret of his success, as surely as it will be the ultimate cause of his failure. If all the warring elements resolved to carry on the struggle for political freedom, the internal social struggle will be postponed for a long time, and men holding the position of the Mahatma will continue to dominate the public life of the country. But that will not be the case. The vested interest, the haves, will in future fight shy of the have-nots in the political fight and will gradually incline towards the British government. The logic of history will therefore follow its inevitable course. The political struggle and the social struggle will have to be conducted simultaneously. The party that will win political freedom for India will be also the party that will win social and economic freedom for the masses. Mahatma Gandhi has rendered and will continue to render phenomenal service to his country, but India's salvation will not be achieved under his leadership.